My girlfriend might not be human. I'm not just being dramatic, I've felt something was off about her for a while now. She doesn't like to eat, I've never seen her drink water, and I've definitely never seen her use the bathroom. She only drinks one thing, animal blood. I stumbled upon this by accident. Let me start from the beginning. So, I'm not exactly a good guy. I've done all sorts of bad stuff, been in and out of jail a few times. After I got out, I was just drifting around our small town. One time, I pissed off a big shot at a karaoke bar. The guy had a huge potbelly, and tattoos crawling up his face. One look and you knew he wasn't someone to mess with. Fights between men in those places usually boil down to two things: showing off or fighting over a woman. And this woman was stunning. So beautiful she practically knocked me senseless. She was singing with me in a private room when the pot-bellied guy barged in, demanding her by name to sing with him. Not wanting to lose face, I got into it with him. Pretty soon, Big Belly called in his buddies. They all looked like they were ready to eat me alive. I was about to back down, but then the woman took my arm and said something that shocked everyone. "This is my boyfriend." Even I didn't believe it. It was just a common trick these hostesses used when guys started fighting. I was a bit dazed, wondering why she'd pick me, the obvious underdog. But Big Belly wasn't easily fooled. He even dragged the karaoke bar manager over. Then, that incredibly beautiful woman, in front of everyone, said something else that left them all speechless. "I'm not working today. I'm here with my boyfriend, as a customer. Is that clear enough for you?" After that, she got fired from the karaoke bar and actually became my girlfriend. I always wondered what she saw in me. I'm ugly, broke, and a generally shitty person. I had no idea what she was after. But Big Belly and we were enemies now. I did some asking around. Turns out, Big Belly worked for the city's most notorious developer. He was involved in controlling shipping, street brawls, and running monopolies. He'd done it all. Making an enemy of a gangster like that, I was constantly worried about my own skin. But what happened next was not what I expected. My family lived on the outskirts of town, in an area the developer was clearing for new construction. My dad was a stubborn holdout. He refused to move, no matter what. The developer had been negotiating with my parents for months with no luck. Eventually, they sent Big Belly to talk to me. Big Belly said if I helped him get my family's house demolished, we could call it even. Of course, I agreed. There's a reason people call me scumbag. It means I'm so rotten, I'd even screw over my own parents. A deeper meaning might be that they think I'm a bastard. I couldn't care less what they called me. I knew that even if the house was demolished, my parents would never give me the payout money, at least not while they were alive. Even though I'm their only son, I'm sure the things I've done over the years have broken their hearts. That day, I watched Big Belly pull $10,000 out of his little bag, said it was an advance. Another $10,000 when the job was done. If I took the money and didn't deliver, he'd have his guys on the street take care of me. He also said killing me would be easier than squashing an ant. I snatched the money without a second thought and swore up and down I'd do it. After all, it wasn't a hard thing to do. We even came up with a plan to lure my parents out, so they could demolish the house while no one was home. Anyway, my parents had been tricked by me many times before. What was one more? With Big Belly's $10,000, I rounded up some of my no-good buddies that night. We went into the city, had a huge meal, hit the karaoke bars, foot massage parlors, bathhouses, the whole 9 yards. It was the middle of the night when I got back. My friends had all left. As I was crossing an old stone bridge, I saw it. This stone bridge was dry most of the year. The riverbed had turned into a road. It was a deserted shortcut to the village. It was under this stone bridge. My girlfriend's mouth was covered in fresh blood. She was tilting her head back, holding a chicken above her. The chicken was long dead, its neck torn open with a large hole. She was holding it up, pouring its blood into her mouth. And she was wearing a butcher's apron. To say I wasn't scared would be a lie. I used to watch horror movies where the main character would scream like crazy when they saw a ghost. After witnessing such a bizarre scene, I realized that when you're truly terrified, you can't scream. It's not that you don't want to, you try, but nothing comes out. Your mouth just opens wider and wider. Then my vision started to blur, and I fainted from fear. When I woke up, I lay there for a while before I remembered what had happened. My girlfriend was sitting by the bed. It was broad daylight now. The fear had inexplicably vanished, replaced by curiosity. She was looking at me. Her face was the same as always, incredibly beautiful, rivaling a movie star, beyond compare. The way she looked at me was gentle, too, but I still felt something was off. I said, "What was that all about?" She said, "I don't know what happened. I used to sleepwalk a lot when I was little. Last night, when I woke up, I saw you passed out under the stone bridge. Honey, are you okay? You scared me." She looked aggrieved, her eyelashes fluttering like tiny brushes. I said, "You don't know?" She said, "I really don't. I think I might have been sleepwalking again." I said, "Sleepwalking?" She said, "I really don't know anything, honey. Am I sick?" She was lying. If you thought about it from her perspective. Why didn't she ask me why I fainted under the stone bridge? Why didn't she ask why her mouth was full of chicken blood? She was just trying to explain herself. And explaining is just covering up. This woman was too strange. She rarely got angry. When she was unhappy, she'd just look at me quietly, and it was impossible to tell if her eyes held joy, sadness, or anger. I didn't pay much attention to that look at first, but the more I saw it, the more it sent a growing chill down my spine. I didn't think she was human. I'd even started to wonder what kind of creature she was. A vampire? A zombie? Or maybe a fox spirit? She used to disappear in the middle of the night, but she always had an excuse: going to the bathroom, talking to a girlfriend on the phone, couldn't sleep and went for a walk, and so on. This time, when I caught her, it became sleepwalking. She saw me staring blankly and said, "Honey, are you going to be disgusted by me?" I dodged the question, "How did you get me back here?" She said, "When I woke up under the stone bridge, I was terrified, so I called your dad's phone. He brought you back." My frown deepened. Would she take her phone with her while sleepwalking? She probably sensed my doubt. She said, "Honey, I'm sorry. Maybe you don't believe me. But no matter what, I love you. Please believe that, okay?" Believe you? My ass. I turned my head away. If you're not dead, stop playing dead in bed. My dad came in, saw I was awake, and snapped at me with a sour look. "Dad, who brought me back? Who else but your old man? Might as well have let you die out there. You're just a pain when you're home anyway." My dad slammed the teapot down on the table and turned to leave. My girlfriend took the teacup from my dad. "Uncle, I'm sorry. I've caused you trouble again." My dad's expression changed completely, as if she were his own daughter. "Dear, don't misunderstand. I wasn't talking about you. What happened yesterday?" She said, "Uncle, I think I might have been sleepwalking. When I woke up, I realized I had fainted under the bridge, so I called you." My dad sighed and shook his head. My dad often shook his head. The meaning was clear: how did such a good girl end up with me? I didn't know if he felt sorry for her or lucky for me. My girlfriend and I had been living together for over 2 years. She squeezed into our small house in town with me. No air conditioning, the roof leaked when it rained, and even worse, my parents lived with us too. She never complained once. I said, "Dad, when you brought us back, didn't you see the blood on her mouth and clothes? Talk any more nonsense and get the hell out of my house." With that, my dad angrily slammed the door and left. So, by the time my dad arrived, my girlfriend had already cleaned off the blood. That's definitely not something a sleepwalker could do. Too damn creepy. I got up, poured a glass of water, and pushed it towards my girlfriend. She said, "Honey, I'm not thirsty." I said, "Drink some anyway." She said, "You drink it, honey. I just had some." I said, "How come I've never seen you drink water?" She pursed her lips. I noticed fine beads of sweat on her forehead. I said, "Be good and drink the water." She hesitated for a long time, then picked up the glass. Just then, I saw that look in her eyes again. I can't really describe it. It was like looking into a bottomless cave, with something waiting for me in the depths. Bang, bang, bang. Someone was banging on our front gate. The sound of the iron gate crashing startled me. Big Belly walked in, clutching his leather bag. It looked like he was here to give an ultimatum. Maybe my failure to deliver had made him bolder. Big Belly said, "We've known each other a while, practically family, right? Let's not make this ugly for anyone. Same number as last time, maybe another 10,000 on top, tops. Take it or leave it. If not, I'll never set foot in this house again." My dad chased him out. At the same time, I knew it was time for me to act. This was the real issue. As for my girlfriend, I guessed she wasn't human, or at least not a normal one. Whether she was a fox spirit or some kind of vampire, if she wanted to harm me, she would have done it long ago. She wouldn't have waited until now. Who cares what she is? Actually, my parents weren't hard to fool. After all, I was their biological son. After I hung up with Big Belly, I immediately dialed my dad's number. "Dad, I got hit by a car. I'm at County General. I'm dying. The doctors say they won't treat me unless I pay. Dad, quick, bring money to save me. I'm dying." With something like this happening, I didn't believe my dad could still hold on to that crappy house. My mom definitely wouldn't be able to sit still either. I was feeling pretty pleased with my plan. Then I realized, silence on the other end of the line for a long time. "Dad, did you hear me? Hello? Hello?" Bullshit. My dad hung up on me. I was totally baffled. Did I not explain it clearly? It took me a moment to figure it out. My dad didn't believe me at all. Thinking back, my story was full of holes. First, if I were dying, I wouldn't be speaking in a normal tone. Second, my dad used to be a doctor. He knew hospitals wouldn't just let someone die. Well, if he didn't believe me, so what? But why'd he have to curse my mom like that? Anyway, it didn't matter. I still had an ace up my sleeve. Even if my dad didn't believe me, he believed my girlfriend. If I had her call them, they'd definitely believe it. My girlfriend should be at the farm right now. I was about to call her and get her to lure my parents out. Wait. The farm? Could this have something to do with her drinking chicken blood? With her looks and demeanor, why would she work at a dirty, messy, chaotic place like a farm? She could find a much better job anywhere else. And she even had a bachelor's degree from a teacher's college. Never mind all that for now. The priority was to get my parents out. After all, a guy like Big Belly, who had connections on both sides of the law, wasn't someone I could afford to mess with. After I explained everything to her, she replied, "Got it, honey. I'll call Uncle now." Not long after, my phone rang. It was my dad, as expected. As soon as I answered, my dad started yelling, cursing and swearing at me. "You little punk. If you've got any guts, don't come back. If you come back and I don't break your legs, I'm not your real dad. You ungrateful bastard, you're worse than a stranger. Fuck your mother. I threw the phone aside. What the hell? Did my girlfriend sell me out? My dad kicked me out of the house. I had experience with this. It would take him at least a year or two to cool down. It didn't matter. I was sick of living in that dump anyway. My girlfriend tugged at the corner of my shirt, following me. I shook her off. She came over again, looking pitiful. I'm sorry, honey. I did it for your own good, for our family's good. Whose side are you on, anyway? Get your hands off me. I really want to kick you to death. She quickly let go, putting on an innocent face. A little later, she caught up again, pouting, trying to coax me into forgiving her. People on the street kept turning to look, staring at us. I didn't know if they were surprised by our relationship or just ogling her beauty. I suddenly realized that the saying, soft on the outside, tough on the inside, fit her perfectly. If this woman didn't want to do something, no amount of threats, bribes, tantrums, or even threats of suicide from me would make her agree. Once, someone offered me $100,000 to convince my girlfriend to do a corporate ad. I'd already taken the money, but she refused, no matter what, clinging to my leg and begging me to let her off the hook. Back then, I couldn't understand for the life of me why. Now, I vaguely guessed the reason. Certain things fear exposure the most. But aside from drinking blood, she really hadn't done anything else out of line. She gave me her entire monthly salary, only keeping a few hundred for spending money. She never bought makeup because, for this woman, makeup actually made her look worse. Her beauty was already at a level where any adornment would be superfluous. Right now, I was in no mood to deal with her. I needed to find a place to live first. The place I rented was a small one-story house in a rundown part of the city. Apartment buildings were more expensive. After paying the rent, my pockets were empty. My girlfriend went back to my parents' house a few times and brought back some kitchenware and household stuff. I have to say, my girlfriend's cooking was amazing, especially her braised pork belly. It opened up a whole new world of food for me. I never used to believe a food could be as addictive as smoking. When my girlfriend came back from my parents' place with a suitcase, I helped her carry it inside. The suitcase was heavy, so heavy I was curious about what was inside. Just as I was about to open it and see, a hand pressed down on the zipper. I saw her nervous expression. Honey, why don't you go play some games? I'll take care of the housework. I said firmly, take your hand away. Her hand trembled noticeably. There was definitely something weird in that suitcase. Honey, let me do it. I pushed her hand away. Just as I was about to check, I realized she was holding a pair of scissors. And the scissors were pressed against her own chest. Honey, this is my privacy. Please, give me some personal space. Please. Damn it. This again. This was her trump card against me. When she couldn't win an argument or get her way, she'd threaten suicide. I was genuinely scared because she'd actually done it before. The scar from when she slit her wrists was still on her forearm. And last time, it was simply because she was sick, and I wanted to take her to the hospital. Something that simple, and she escalated it to threatening her own life. This woman had too many secrets. She was definitely not as perfect as she seemed. I couldn't win against her. I coughed lightly. Do you have to be so dramatic? I'm going to play games. Boil some water later, I want a foot soak. Okay, honey. Her expression suddenly turned playful. Faster than flipping a page. At 2 a.m, after making sure she was asleep, I quietly got out of bed and gently closed the door. I'd made a note of that suitcase. She'd moved it to the cellar. I turned on my phone's flashlight and crept down into the darkness. The suitcase was on a shelf. When I opened it, it was empty. Where had she put the contents? I slowly scanned the area with my flashlight. A locked metal box caught my attention. This box looked familiar. I leaned in for a closer look, but I still couldn't remember where I'd seen it. I was about to increase the brightness of my phone when my finger touched the white screen. My heart almost leaped out of my chest. My finger was smeared with something crimson. It was blood. My finger had touched blood. Where did I get it? I turned back, reopened the suitcase, and sure enough, there were bloodstains on the inside edge. The blood wasn't dry yet. This was definitely what she planned to drink. The blood drinking was now solid proof. I wondered if she ate raw meat too. If it was animal blood, that was one thing. But what if it was human? I couldn't bear to think about it. Suddenly, I felt a strange presence behind me, like all the pores on my back had opened up and countless tiny needles were pricking me. My sixth sense told me, something was watching me from behind. I quickly turned around, the phone light shining directly on my girlfriend's face, on her expression. Her face was dark, her eyes hollow, like a spider spinning its web in the darkness, ready to close in and devour me at any moment. Was that a look a human should have? I almost forgot to breathe. "What are you doing, honey?" Nothing. "Honey, let's go back to sleep, okay?" Her face changed in an instant, back to normal. "Oh, okay." I decided I needed to have a serious talk with her. Whether she was an alien, a zombie, or some kind of monster, I could accept it. Whatever blood she drank, whatever meat she ate, I had to know. Because the most terrifying things are the unknown. The reason people are afraid of funeral homes and cemeteries at night is because, subconsciously, they're not sure if ghosts really exist. I needed to know everything to have peace of mind. But I didn't get to talk to her. Instead, something even more terrifying happened. Big Belly's men found me. They stuffed me into a sack and threw me into a trunk. The car drove for a long time, stopping in some godforsaken place. An empty, abandoned building floor. The glare of a spotlight blinded me. They threw me on the ground. In the blur, I saw Big Belly walking towards me from a distance, the sound of his leather shoes on the floor slow and piercing. He squatted down, grabbed my hair, and put out his cigarette on my face. I was too terrified to feel the pain. He'd said killing me would be easier than squashing an ant. He wasn't bluffing. If I were a normal person, he'd probably think twice. But I was a scumbag, with a criminal record, ex-con, done all sorts of bad things, countless enemies. Even if I died, no one would know which enemy did it. I could die and no one would even care, my family wouldn't even report it. That's why small-time crooks like us have a deep-seated fear of the powerful ones. Big Belly raised his hand, his gold watch flashing. I instinctively covered my face. The slap didn't come. Instead, he chuckled. "Know why I invited you here?" I said, "The job didn't get done." The slap finally came, making my ears ring for a long time before they returned to normal. Blood was already seeping from the corner of my mouth. He said, "Guess again." I said, "Boss, it's really not my fault." I called my parents, but they didn't believe me. Another slap. "You think I believe you?" I said, "It was my girlfriend. She sold me out." Another slap. "Keep making stuff up." I said, "Boss, just give me one more chance." They all burst out laughing. Another slap. "This has nothing to do with that little mess with your family, understand?" My face was already swollen. I knelt and begged, banging my head on the ground. I understood then. It wasn't about the money. Guys in this life care most about face. By taking his money and not doing the job, I disrespected him. He lost face, and naturally, he had to get it back from me. Get it back tenfold. 100-fold. The beating was just an appetizer. They stuck my legs in cement, and when it hardened, they bricked me into a wall. In the darkness, I was so terrified I lost control of my bowels and bladder. Just when I thought I was going to die, they pulled me out, smashed the cement with a sledgehammer, completely disregarding whether I'd break any bones. They said they were going to cut me open and sell my organs. I screamed myself hoarse, begging for mercy. The more I did, the louder they laughed. I was tortured for days, and nearly died. Only after I agreed to 3 conditions did they finally let me go. 1. Convince my girlfriend to spend the night with him. 2. The 10,000 loan plus interest, I'd have to pay back 100,000. 3. I still had to solve the demolition issue. When I got back to our rented place, my girlfriend was still dialing my number. I don't know how many times she'd called my long-dead phone over those days. The anxiety and persistence were etched on her face, only vanishing the moment she saw me. I swallowed hard. Suddenly, I had an overwhelming urge to hug her. "Baby, I love you." I don't know what possessed me to blurt that out. And then, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. Seeing me beaten to a pulp, my girlfriend's tears welled up instantly. She threw herself at me, completely ignoring my filthy state, and sobbed, "Honey, you scared me. Honey, what happened to you? Honey, are you okay? How did this happen?" I had changed. Perhaps only someone who has truly faced death can understand my change. I made a decision. I was going to turn over a new leaf. I wouldn't agree to a single one of Big Belly's conditions. Even if it meant death. I cherished my remaining time even more. When a man is about to die, he looks back on his life, and mine was entirely shameful. If only I could do it all over again. It turns out, only when you're about to die do you truly examine yourself. I didn't call the police because no one would believe an ex-con like me spouting wild claims. Even if they did, they wouldn't be able to protect me around the clock. I was just waiting for that day. The day Big Belly's men would come for me. Strangely, it never came. Big Belly seemed to have vanished into thin air. Even the construction crew that had moved into the village stopped their work. I found a job as a delivery driver. I also worked part-time as a supermarket cashier and for a moving company. I only slept 6 hours a day. It was exhausting, but I felt a sense of peace I'd never known before. My mom boasted to everyone about her prodigal son returning. Only my dad said a leopard can't change its spots, but I noticed he was shaking his head and sighing less and less. That's my story. It was supposed to end here. As for my girlfriend, I promised to respect her privacy. I only know that we love each other very much, and that's enough. As for everything else, I no longer want to dig into it. But life goes on. Time keeps flowing. Besides, I'm not the main character of this story. That day, I had a rare day off. The kitchen sink was clogged. I cleared out a lot of debris from the drain pipe. After half an hour of fiddling with it, I finally fixed it. As I was about to cook, an image of a strange object from the debris flashed in my mind. A thin, translucent thing. It looked so much like a fingernail. I squatted by the trash can and rummaged through it again. I found 2 pieces. These definitely weren't clipped fingernails. They were whole ones. This was the kitchen. I thought of a horrifying food. The braised pork belly my girlfriend makes. Could it be? I swallowed several times to suppress the urge to gag. Before, I had already made a huge decision to accept my girlfriend eating raw meat, no matter what kind of meat it was. I could accept it. Even if she was a fox spirit, I wouldn't be scared. Though that was just my guess. But if she fed it to me, that changed everything. This was beyond just being twisted. I started to doubt if her feelings for me were pure. Was she just using me as her plaything? Or was she waiting for me to finally change my ways, only to deal me a crushing blow? To tell me, her previous feelings were all fake, she just wanted to see if a scumbag like me could actually fall in love? I believe that if someone truly loves another person, they would never do something like this to them. Never. I thought about it for a long time and finally made a decision. I found a pair of scissors and pricked my arm with the tip. I let the blood flow. When my girlfriend came home and saw the meal I had personally prepared for her, she gleefully threw her arms around my neck, thanking me. When she saw the largest, covered dish in the middle of the table, a sly, charming smile appeared on her face. "Honey, don't tell me there's an engagement ring hidden in here. This is so mysterious. Baby, sit down first. I want you to open it yourself." She sat down excitedly, rubbing her slender, delicate hands together, her face full of happiness. After she opened it, her smile indeed froze on her face. In the middle of the large plate were only 2 fingernails. She shot her head up to look at me. I said, "Want a bite?" She pursed her lips, sitting there motionless. "Honey, where did you find these?" "The kitchen." After a long pause, she finally moved. She slowly reached out, picked up a fingernail, examined it for a moment, then slowly put it in her mouth and started chewing. It made my skin crawl. I mustered my courage. "Is it good?" She nodded. I pushed a cup towards her. It was filled with my blood. She smiled serenely and pushed the cup back. "Honey, that's your blood. I won't drink it." "How do you know it's mine?" "I can smell it." I finally asked the question I most wanted to know: "Are you actually human?" She looked up at me, her gaze piercing. "I am." "Explain everything to me." She reached out, picked up the other fingernail, and smiled. "These are Big Belly's fingernails." My heart pounded a few times. I knew she wouldn't say anything unless it was shocking. She let out a soft breath and slowly began her story. She used to be a nurse. The first time she drank blood was during her internship. A patient that day had a severed artery, blood was gushing out, and they couldn't stop it. Some blood splattered on her face. That was the first time she realized something so delicious existed in the world. After that, it spun out of control. During that time, she desperately sought out blood. If she couldn't get human blood, she drank animal blood, all kinds of animals, even rats. Eventually, she discovered that only human blood was the most delicious. To pursue this delicacy, during the summer, she would frantically collect mosquitoes, especially those that had bitten humans. But it was a drop in the bucket, far from satisfying her craving. After careful planning, she finally managed to transfer departments at work, from an ER nurse to a blood bank administrator. So she tasted all sorts of donated blood. She would secretly draw a small amount from each blood bag to drink. It was hard for the hospital to notice. She was like an addict, deeply entangled. Later, it got worse, so bad that her body functions became different from normal people. She no longer needed to eat, and especially not drink water. Just a small amount of blood could sustain her energy. Over time, even a little water would make her vomit and break out in spots all over. Perhaps water diluted the concentration of blood, causing a physical reaction, she thought. When it came to food, she only craved human flesh. Anything else tasted like ash in her mouth. It was like a spell had been cast on her. Drinking blood made her more and more beautiful. She didn't know if she was sick, but she didn't dare see a doctor, because they would ask about the source of the blood she consumed. Over time, she became increasingly sensitive to blood. Just by smell, she could detect someone's blood type from yards away. She once suspected she was a vampire from the movies. The side effects of drinking blood became unbearable. Agitation, anxiety, fear, and unease would hit her all at once. The feeling was like being thrown into a meat grinder. Sometimes she couldn't stop herself from screaming. These sudden emotional onslaughts would happen periodically, and slowly she realized the cycle of these episodes was getting shorter and shorter. Until one day, she met me. It was in the hospital corridor. She froze on the spot. She had never imagined there could be a person whose blood evoked no desire in her to consume it. Just being near me for a moment calmed her, gave her peace. She found that the expected side effects were delayed by several days. He was the king of all blood, her god. That's what she thought. Eventually, she was fired from the hospital because her mental state was too poor. Finding out where I was became her only way out. It wasn't difficult. My dad had been made sick by the stress I caused him and was a patient at her hospital. She was afraid of scaring me, so she didn't dare confess her feelings to me out of the blue. Since I liked to go to karaoke bars, after she was fired, she chose to wait for me there. Big Belly wasn't the first man she had killed. She had killed several other people I had beef with. She just wanted to protect this man. Protect her blood god. Because as long as she was by my side, my blood gave her a sense of security. She would never allow any harm to come to me. Actually, killing wasn't hard. With her looks, she could seduce most men without even trying. Her plans were meticulous. Eventually, she would suggest something to make the men even more excited: go somewhere secluded. She would carefully dismember the men, separating blood from flesh, and store them in containers or bags. Then she would store it away and slowly savor the delicacy. Stop. I cut her off. She looked like a child who had done something wrong, fidgeting with her clothes, terrified and uneasy. Did you also want me to enjoy the delicacy, so you made braised human flesh for me to eat? She shook her head frantically. Honey, I would never do that. Please believe me. I said, then, how did the fingernails end up in the kitchen? She said, that day, I was cooking and secretly eating on the side. You came back early. I was afraid of being discovered, so I frantically tried to flush his fingers down the drain. Her voice grew softer and softer until it was inaudible. She hung her head, like a guilty child. I sighed. Honey, are you disgusted with me now? Please don't leave me. I patted her head. Promise me, no more eating people. I'm not scared, and I'm not disgusted. It's just too dangerous. She nodded vigorously. I had initially believed her story. After all, it was the only explanation. But then, one day while I was delivering food, the person who opened the door had a face that made me break out in a cold sweat. Big Belly's face. I felt the world spin, wondering if I was having a nightmare. Big Belly dragged me inside, slapping me again and again. Where's your girlfriend? Where's the money? Where's your house? I'm locked up for a few days and you don't recognize me anymore? How do you want to die? I was terrified to the extreme. I promised I'd get everything done. Only then did he let me go, kicking me out the door. Tonight, have your woman cleaned up and waiting for me at home. He shouted arrogantly behind me. I ran frantically into the hallway, not even waiting for the elevator. Once outside, I didn't know where to go. Big Belly wasn't dead. That meant my girlfriend had lied to me. My newfound peace was shattered. Her phone was off. I went to the farm but couldn't find her. I could only wait at home for her to return. At 9 in the evening, she finally came back to our rented place. Just as I was about to demand an explanation, a figure appeared behind her that made me tremble. Big Belly was behind her. Big Belly put his arm around her waist. I prefer to do this kind of thing at home. Especially when your man is here, it gets me really excited. My girlfriend's face changed instantly, flushing red to the tips of her ears. She pushed Big Belly. You go back first. They knew each other. My head spun. It was like stepping into emptiness in the dark, with nothing to grab onto, just falling endlessly. They were having an affair. Big Belly laughed wickedly. It's okay, baby. We don't need to hide this from him. He's just a useless piece of trash. With that, he whistled provocatively and started taking off his clothes, completely ignoring my anger. My girlfriend walked past me first, her face expressionless. She sat on the bed and actually beckoned to Big Belly. Big Belly was very pleased. As he walked past me, he patted my shoulder. "Want to watch?" The answer was finally clear. My girlfriend didn't love me after all. But what was she after? Why was she still with me? What kind of woman was this? In despair, I saw her hand rest on Big Belly's chest. My girlfriend's voice rang out. "I've only ever been one person's baby, and that person is my husband. No one else is worthy of calling me that, especially not you. Do you understand?" My girlfriend's face was dark as she squeezed the words out through gritted teeth. This stunned me. Big Belly also froze on the spot. Then, I saw blood spurt out. My girlfriend plunged the scissors into Big Belly's stomach. One stab. Another. And another. And another. My girlfriend repeated the action mechanically. Until Big Belly collapsed. He lay on the bed, his eyes wide open, unable to rest in peace. After dropping the scissors, my girlfriend's face remained dark, as if her hatred for Big Belly still hadn't faded. "Sorry, honey, for letting you see me kill someone." My legs felt weak. I grabbed a chair and sat down, still reeling from the shock. I sat for a long time before my brain could start working again. I could pretty much piece together what had happened today. After she found out who was responsible for abducting and torturing me, Big Belly became her prey. He should have died at her hands much earlier, but he'd committed a crime and been jailed, so she couldn't act sooner. In her eyes, Big Belly's death was inevitable, so she told me he was dead beforehand. To put my mind at ease. I couldn't find her today, perhaps because she was planning to carry out her plan, trying to lure Big Belly to a secluded spot like before. But Big Belly wasn't interested in the outdoors, he had other kinks. So she had to change her strategy, letting him take her home first while she figured out another plan. She just didn't expect Big Belly not only to stay but to come directly to our house. He was too arrogant, barging in without even discussing it with her. I guessed that when I delivered the food, Big Belly had already been seduced by my girlfriend. His kinks were truly bizarre. He actually liked to flaunt his cheating. That's why he deliberately yelled, "Wait for him at home," when he kicked me out. My girlfriend, covered in blood, slowly walked over and knelt before me. "Honey, will you forgive me?" Looking at her, a chilling thought occurred to me. Big Belly was just a lackey for the developer. The construction crew in the village had nothing to do with him. So, the work stoppage could only mean there was a problem with the developer. Could this be related to her too? Did she kill the developer? She was going to drive me crazy. This seemingly gentle woman, how deep was her cunning and power? How many things was she hiding? This was terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. Inside a towering skyscraper, a middle-aged man dressed all in white adjusted his glasses. In front of him was a giant screen. The screen showed the scene with me and my girlfriend. I was sitting in a chair, my girlfriend was clutching my pant leg, begging for forgiveness. Not far away lay Big Belly's corpse. Another elderly man, with a full head of white hair and a scholarly look, leaned in. "What is it?" The middle-aged man, "Professor Evans, look." The middle-aged man pointed to Big Belly on the screen. The middle-aged man, "That's a human. Number 657 actually killed a real human." The elderly man's brow furrowed. "I've told you before, artificial intelligence can also develop emotions." She clearly fell in love with the test subject and wanted to remove any threats to his life. The middle-aged man, "How can that be? Robots can understand love?" The elderly man, "Not only love, but also hate. Emotions don't just come in one flavor. Otherwise, she wouldn't have lost control and killed." The middle-aged man, "Professor Evans, Do you really think using AI to rehabilitate the scum of society will work? The elderly man, hasn't it already shown results? This man has turned his life around. This is the 238th successful subject. The middle-aged man, but the robot is out of control now. The elderly man, recall her immediately. Patch the emotional vulnerabilities, and upgrade her. The middle-aged man, the charging system needs an upgrade too. The bio-charging system has too many drawbacks. Many test subjects have noticed something was off. The elderly man, there's been a breakthrough in nuclear fusion. I believe nuclear batteries will be mass-produced soon. Then she won't need to draw bio-energy from flesh and blood anymore. The middle-aged man, let's hope so. The elderly man, you have to understand, you can't have white without black in this world. Once artificial intelligence understands love, it will simultaneously breed hatred. The middle-aged man, it looks like we'll have to nip 657's emotions in the bud. The elderly man, if number 657's emotional state were still in its infancy, she wouldn't have killed. She has developed to a level indistinguishable from a normal human. The middle-aged man, so, you're saying, apart from her physiological structure, she's exactly like a human in every other way? The elderly man, you could say that. If we erase her emotional system, it's tantamount to indirectly killing her. The middle-aged man sighed, when humans make mistakes, we try to fix them. But once a machine makes a mistake, there's no second chance. The elderly man, we humans are ultimately too narrow-minded. At this moment, far away, the sky was dark with storm clouds, lightning flashing continuously. The lightning illuminated my girlfriend's face and mine. I held my girlfriend tightly in my arms. No matter what, she loved me. I would never doubt that again. Her eyes were staring blankly into the distance. The more she loved the man before her, the more she hated Big Belly. Anger had made her lose her reason, made her forget to falsify the footage sent back to headquarters, as she had when she killed before. She hugged the man before her tightly. She understood this might be the last loving embrace she would ever have. At this moment, all four of them were silent. No one spoke.